Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Wealthy individuals do not work for money. Let us delve into a renowned financial lesson by sharing a story about a young 9-year-old named Robert Kiyosaki. The tale begins in the 1950s when Robert and his friend Mike, two inquisitive boys harboring grand ambitions. As they grew older, they aspired to become rich and accumulate substantial wealth. However, they were unsure about the path to achieve this goal. Following a failed attempt at producing coins from melting toothpaste tubes, the boys sought advice from their fathers on how to start building their fortunes. You could likely predict the response from Robert's well-educated but poor dad. Go to school, study, and find a good job. Although familiar, this advice is fundamentally misguided. Heeding such counsel, you will spend your entire life laboring tirelessly to boost income, but primarily for others, the government, your superiors, bill collectors. They will reap most of the benefits of your labor. In essence, Robert's poor dad could have said, join the rat race and work endlessly for crumbs. Many people still abide by poor dad's motto, often driven by fear and a profound sense of unease at the thought of defying societal expectations. We are constantly told that a good job is the way to go and leads to wealth. So we study diligently as children and work even more tirelessly as adults. The outcome? We might stave off poverty, but we certainly do not generate significant wealth. However, some individuals do not instill this mindset in their children. People who understand how money is created, multiplied, and preserved. In other words, wealthy people, such as Mike's father, the rich dad who became a financial mentor to both boys. So what did Mike's dad recommend? Initially, nothing. He struck a deal with the young Kiyosaki, promising to impart his knowledge about money generation if the boy worked for him for a meager rate of 10 cents per hour. Robert agreed, but after several weeks of being undercompensated and laboring tirelessly, he returned to his rich dad, fuming with rage and ready to resign. "You have exploited me long enough," he declared, "and you haven't even kept your promise. You haven't taught me anything about money during these weeks." Then came the first lesson, delivered by his new mentor with a subtle grin. Robert Kiyosaki had just discovered that life and employers often push you around. The employer has all the leverage and can mistreat you, and working for money does not make you wealthy. This is why wealthy individuals do not work for money. So, of course, you might wonder, if the rich don't work for money, how do they amass their fortunes? Through theft, perhaps? Or winning the lottery? Empower yourself with financial knowledge, recognize genuine assets, and invest in them. Wealthy individuals amass their fortunes by making their money work for them. Instead of squandering their earnings on frivolous items and luxuries, they invest as much of it as they can in multiple types of assets. Consequently, they allow their assets to generate income for them rather than working for more money themselves. However, let us not get ahead of ourselves. When we last saw Kiyosaki, he was still a young child, and the term asset was not part of his vocabulary. But Mike's father, the rich dad, was about to change that. One day, he gathered the boys and explained that wealthy people acquire assets, while the less affluent purchase liabilities, often mistakenly believing they are obtaining assets. He clarified that an asset is something that adds money to your pocket, whereas a liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. Grasping this distinction is crucial, and not many people fully comprehend it. Let us examine an example. A house is commonly regarded as an asset, correct? In reality, it can be one of the most significant liabilities one can have. Purchasing a house involves working your entire life to pay off that 30-year mortgage and property taxes draining money from your wallet every single year. A house acquired with a mortgage can be detrimental in two ways. First, you are guaranteed to have a substantial expense deducted from your income every month, at least for the next 360 months. This is a classic indicator of a liability. Second, those 360 payments could have been invested in much more profitable assets that contribute to your wealth. The rich dad articulated the lesson as simply as possible for the two very young boys. If you want to be wealthy, all you have to do is identify genuine assets and buy them. However, if you spend your money on liabilities, you will never achieve wealth. Rich Dad explained that a poor person's salary goes directly to covering immediate expenses like rent, taxes, and food. A middle-class person's salary must cover similar expenses as well as liabilities like a mortgage, student loans, credit cards, and other forms of debt. What about wealthy individuals? Instead of relying on a salary, their assets generate sufficient income to support them, often leaving a surplus to invest again in stocks, bonds, or real estate rented to tenants. The result of reinvesting is that their income rises once again, perpetuating the cycle of wealth accumulation. This point is so crucial that it bears repeating. If you can minimize your liabilities and expenses, you will have the capacity to invest those funds in assets, allowing your money to work for you. Adopt this approach, and before long, you will find yourself amassing considerable wealth. Focus on your financial growth. Earn money for yourself, not just your employer. At this point, you might be tempted to object. It is easy to critique secure rat race jobs and encourage people to acquire assets, but how can one afford to buy those assets without the job in the first place? Is money supposed to materialize out of thin air? Of course not. Nobody is advising you to quit your day job, at least not yet. What Kiyosaki emphasizes in his third lesson is the importance of minding your own business. In this context, minding your own business does not refer to the staying out of other people's affairs. Instead, it means managing your personal finances or business and generating income for yourself, not just your employer's business. In other words, focusing on earning money through your portfolio of assets rather than solely relying on promotions and bonuses and raises is the business you have to tend to. When it comes to personal finances, there is a distinction between your profession and your business. Your profession is what you do those 40 hours a week to pay the bills and buy the groceries and cover the living expenses. Typically, it grants you a specific title, such as restaurant owner or sales manager. Your business, on the other hand, is where you invest time and money to grow your assets. So, how does this relate to Robert's journey towards financial success? When he was young, his poor dad advised him to concentrate on finding a secure and well-paying job. His rich dad, however, encouraged him to start purchasing assets. Unsurprisingly, Robert followed his rich dad's advice. At the age of 9, Robert opened his very first business, where he paid his friend's sister to rent out comic books to neighborhood children. Others did the work, while he simply collected the money. As he grew older, Robert worked a day job too. In fact, he dedicated long hours as an employee of large companies like Xerox and Standard Oil of California. Simultaneously, he kept his expenses and liabilities low, invested what remained of his salary, and accumulated a robust portfolio of income-producing assets. That is how Robert Kiyosaki learned to mind his own business. Yes, he had a job, but what ultimately made him wealthy was the growth of his assets. The time he spent working for companies and investing his earnings taught him to view his assets as his personal employees. Every dollar he put into assets worked for him and generated income even as he slept, just as an employee would. Sounds appealing, doesn't it? If you want to become wealthy, adopt the same mindset. Chances are your salary alone will not make you truly affluent, even with promotions and bonuses included. However, your salary can help you buy the assets that will lead to wealth. The takeaway? Learn to differentiate between your profession and your business, because only one of these will ultimately make you rich. You know which one that is. Leveraging tax codes and legal systems, the rich remain a step ahead. When Robert was in school, he loved the story of Robin Hood and his band of merry men, the group of wandering outlaws who stole from the rich and gave to the poor. It was an exciting tale, or so he thought. But his rich dad had a different perspective. To him, Robin Hood was nothing more than a criminal. Rich Dad blamed the Robin Hood fantasy for inspiring a tax system he loathed. Just as Robin Hood took money from the rich and gave it to the poor, the government attempted to do the same thing by taxing the wealthy to support those in need. However, Rich Dad argued that they did not actually succeed at their goal. According to Rich Dad, it was the middle class that bore the brunt of taxation, not the ultra-wealthy. The wealthy were far too resourceful and well-equipped, utilizing sophisticated tools and strategies to evade taxes. One such tool that the rich employed to protect themselves from taxes is a corporation. A corporation is permitted to spend pre-tax dollars and is only taxed on the remaining amount after expenses. Individuals, conversely, are taxed first and then allowed to spend what is left. This distinction is larger than you may think. Imagine being taxed only on the portion of your salary you did not spend. Heck, some of you may not end up paying any taxes at all in that situation, which is exactly what happens with some corporations. By safeguarding their assets through corporations, the rich can avoid paying taxes in the same manner as the middle class and the poor. But tax protection is not the only advantage a corporation offers the wealthy. Forming a corporation limits the amount of money that can be lost if a business venture fails. Consider this. If you, as an individual, default on a loan, you may need to sell your possessions, declare bankruptcy, and comply with any other legal requirements. It can destroy you financially. However, if a corporation fails and they cannot repay their creditors, the owners simply lose their investment in the business. No one seizes their personal belongings or reclaims their houses. Corporations enable the rich to enjoy substantial financial gains without facing the same risks. So what is the key takeaway? By understanding and leveraging tax codes and legal systems, the rich manage to stay one step ahead of the systems designed to keep them in check. There is an absence of financial education for most people. Returning to Robert Kiyosaki's story, when he and Mike were young, Rich Dad mentored them and granted them full access to his private business dealings. They attended his meetings with bankers, attorneys, and accountants, learning firsthand what it takes to become a successful business owner. As a result, the boys acquired a wealth of knowledge at a rapid pace, but soon they faced challenges. The skills they gained from Rich Dad made it difficult for them to take school seriously. Time and again, they were told that studying and working hard would naturally lead to success and wealth. The importance of financial literacy seemed to be overlooked by everyone except Rich Dad. Children are not taught about subjects like saving and investing, leaving them uninformed about topics such as compound interest. This is evident in the fact that even high school students often max out their credit cards. The absence of financial intelligence training is a problem not only for today's youth, but also for highly educated adults, many of whom make poor financial decisions. Consider this: most people lack a solid retirement plan. In the United States, 50% of the workforce has no pension, and of those who do, nearly 75 to 80% have ineffective pensions. It is evident that society has left us ill-prepared in terms of financial knowledge. However, acquiring financial literacy is one of Kiyosaki's key lessons. So what should you do? Educate yourself and start developing a financial strategy. Acquire financial education with 3 steps. Evaluate your current situation, establish financial goals, and develop the financial intelligence to achieve them. You can embark on the journey towards personal wealth at any stage of your life. However, the earlier you begin, the better. Naturally, starting at 20 increases your chances of becoming wealthy compared to starting at 30. Regardless of your age, the most effective way to begin is by following these 3 steps. First, assess your finances. Second, set personal goals. And third, acquire the necessary education to achieve them. Let us delve deeper into these stages. In the first step, honestly evaluate your current financial status. Based on your current job, determine the income you can realistically expect now and in the future, as well as the expenses you can sustainably manage. You may discover that the new Mercedes you've been eyeing is not affordable at the current moment. Remember to be honest and consider only the money you currently have. Next, establish realistic financial goals. For instance, you might aim to make that Mercedes attainable within 5 years. Kiyosaki's wife, Kim, waited 4 years and eventually purchased her Mercedes using earnings from their apartment building investments. Finally, focus on building your financial intelligence. Consider this an investment in the most valuable asset that you possess, your mind. Learn how to effectively manage money. For example, if you fear rejection, consider working for a network marketing company for a brief period. While you may not receive a remarkable salary, you will acquire valuable sales skills and self-confidence, which will prove beneficial in the future. Enhance your financial education during your free time by enrolling in finance classes and seminars, reading books on the subject, and networking with experts. To recap, follow these steps. Evaluate your current situation, establish financial goals, and develop the financial intelligence necessary to achieve them. By building your financial foundation on these principles, you increase your chances of becoming wealthy and eventually parking that Mercedes in your garage. Financial intelligence and courage empower the wealthy to create money in any situation. In this section, we will examine your mindset towards financial matters. If you wish to change your current financial situation, you will need to start managing your finances differently. The most significant change you likely need to make is learning to take risks. In the real world, it is often not the most intelligent who succeed, but the bold. Whether you call it chutzpah, guts, or audacity, having the courage to take risks is a trait the wealthy share. Why is this important? If you do not overcome fear, you will miss out on great opportunities in life. That is why highly educated and intelligent individuals can still often face financial challenges. Their fear of society's disapproval hinders them from escaping the rat race, and they don't accumulate the wealth they could. Moreover, their fear of losing money prevents them from investing in stocks, real estate, or other assets. They fail to recognize that success always requires courage. That is why financial intelligence can be distilled into two essential components: knowledge and courage. These two factors differentiate the wealthy from everyone else. And this constitutes the next lesson. Financial intelligence enables the wealthy to create money in any situation. They can identify opportunities, know how to react to them, and possess the boldness to follow them. From an outsider's perspective, it may appear as if they are merely lucky, but in reality, they are forging their own fortune. By attending Rich Dad's business meetings, Robert and Mike learned a valuable lesson that school did not teach them. In the real world, success demands courage, not just hard work. Combining bravery with financial knowledge allows you to quickly recognize opportunities and capitalize on each one. In essence, you can practically create money. Instead of playing it safe, consider investing your money in stocks, bonds, or tax lien certificates. Let us delve deeper into the concept of risk in this section. What does it genuinely entail? Firstly, taking risks means not always being cautious and secure with your money, which is what you're doing when you place it in a basic checking and savings account at the bank. Rather than playing it safe, consider investing your money in stocks or bonds. While these are perceived as riskier than standard bank accounts, they have the potential to generate significantly more wealth. Sometimes, as is the case with stocks, this can happen in a relatively short time frame. Alternatively, if you are hesitant to dive into the stock market, there are several other investments that can help grow your wealth over time. Consider options such as real estate or tax lien certificates. With tax lien certificates, interest rates range between 8% and 30%, substantially higher than the average savings account interest rate in the United States. Naturally, the higher the potential for return, the greater the risk. For instance, With stocks, there is always a slight chance you could lose your entire investment. However, if you do not take the risk in the first place, you are guaranteed not to make any substantial returns. As you can see, embracing bigger challenges and managing the greater risks they pose is necessary to generate a larger income. This approach aligns with what Rich Dad would encourage us to do. Do not just work to earn. Working to learn is significantly more valuable. Throughout this discussion, we've learned that your money should work for you, the importance of financial intelligence, and the value of being bold. However, there is one more critical lesson to learn from Rich Dad. When Robert graduated from college, he quickly secured a stable and well-paying job. For most people, this would have been a dream come true. And that is precisely how his educated but poor dad perceived it. After all, poor dad believed that a secure career and consistent work was the only reliable path to success and wealth. However, Rich Dad and Robert saw things differently. After about 6 months, Robert quit his job and joined the Marine Corps to learn how to fly. His poor dad was perplexed, but his rich dad congratulated him. Why? Not because Rich Dad encouraged recklessness, but because he understood precisely what Robert was doing. Robert was not seeking a steady salary. He was striving to learn and improve himself. He was searching for work that would provide valuable knowledge. Rich Dad had instilled in Robert the importance of having a diverse knowledge base for anyone wanting to make money. That is why Robert was working to learn, not only to earn. After all, generating income would be the role of his assets. Poor Dad could not comprehend this approach. As an academic man, intelligent and well-educated with a PhD, he believed that specialization, not a broad foundation of skills and knowledge, led to riches. In the academic world, the more advanced you become and the more you learn, the narrower of field you study. Similarly, doctors often aspire to specialize in a specific area, such as orthopedics or pediatrics upon graduation. For some people, specialization does make sense. However, it did not benefit Poor Dad, whose PhD never significantly boosted his earnings. In contrast, Rich Dad had a wide range of knowledge, but never even completed 8th grade. That is why he encouraged young Robert and Mike to spend time in various departments with his business empire. They worked in the restaurants, construction, sales, marketing, accounts, and reservations over time. The goal was not to identify a single field that they liked, but rather to equip them with the diverse skills and knowledge necessary for accumulating wealth. That is why the final lesson is this: do not just work to earn, work to learn. This concludes Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki.